Hey yo, we are back with another episode of Mighty Multimedia Reviews. So this one is a pretty recent one, so I got the timing down for this. We are talking about Scott Pilgrim Takes Off, recently released on Netflix. So just to go over a few bigger things, kind of opening impressions. It was a really youthful, energetic, fun art style, really dynamic. I liked it a lot. I thought it was pretty good for the most part. There's a lot of really solid voice actors in this. Obviously, a big one is Chris Evans, but there's a bunch of different ones. I enjoyed a lot of them as well, hearing them. A lot of solid nerd references. I don't think all of these were right off the top, but they're talking about like Sonic, X-Men, Pikachu, just getting into that nerdom. I gotta appreciate that, of course. I'm always gonna be down if you're talking about those kind of topics. All right, now getting into the plot, just kind of how it is starting out. We really get thrown into this world, this cast of characters, their relationships, everything going on. The new love interest to Scott, Ramona Flowers, gets introduced again really quick. They just go on a date, they kiss, sparks, whatever, have fallen in love really fast, and then we're getting into a fight. This is going hard. I like the action. The action is pretty solid for the most part. Kind of the point of the whole thing is that it's a video game, and when they fight or have arguments or whatever, they visualize that through the art of some type of game, and they use different games for the most part, which is pretty good. I like a lot of that. That is really solid, keeps you interested, keeps you entertained. Then you get into some of the things, this League of Evil X's, whatever. I know that's where it's from. That's kind of most of the crux. Kind of lame, but a lot of this is lame. It's kind of supposed to be lame. It's lame stuff, and you hype it up and make it cool. So that gets a pass for the most part. There's a lot of brutal cliffhangers. In a lot of the episodes, something happens. You're just like, oh no, what's going on? Good way to keep people, good way to keep their attention, I suppose. But some of them get a little aggravating. And then really early on, it's like episode 2, something like that, Scott Pilgrim dies. He gets in a fight with someone and he dies. And again, really fast. And most of the show doesn't have Scott actually in it, which is pretty cool. I guess we'll talk about this now because might as well, and I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit later. This is an adaptation. First of all, so originally a comic book, and then it was made into a movie that, from my understanding, didn't do well in its release, but then kind of got a cult following. And then this is a new kind of remake, but it's done differently. I haven't seen the movie, to be quite frank. I haven't read the comic book either, but I'm pretty sure, I'm 99% sure, that it doesn't take this route where he dies and everything. It's more he just fights everything. No, I'm 100% sure because they talk about that later, so we'll talk about that. But yeah, this is interesting, taking your main character out of it. I'm sure this threw a lot of people who had seen the comic book be exposed to the movie and other media. So that's always cool. A new take. If you're gonna do a remake, gotta do a new take. But really don't have your main character for the whole plot. That's pretty bold. But it seems to allow a lot of other lesser appreciated characters and weirder, less important characters shine a little bit more. A few more thoughts. The plot is kind of loose, so I'm not gonna really go through much of the plot, but just some things that were coming to mind when Ramona had the fight with her ex, the only ex that was a girl, her college roommate. I liked how they did it, going through the different movie scenes, because they were in that movie store. I guess it was renting. I don't know. It's got to be set a little bit in the past. Back on Blockbuster, so we talked about that. Still sad, but that was pretty solid, going through all the tropes and everything with these samurais, and there were some other ones I don't really remember, but well done. Also, not being afraid of having this, like same-sex relationship. Also pretty confusing, like a really confusing relationship. I think a lot of it comes with the gender either way, but I'm not shying away from that. I appreciated. Oh, and I had this thought, right? Because like how do these kids all have apartments and houses and stuff? I guess again, it's just a different world, but so much of them have incredible menial jobs that I really don't think you would be able to have some of these houses and stuff. Other ones though are just either inexplicably or told to be incredibly rich. So there's that as well. Have mansions and are superstars or whatever. Even though like ages are pretty muddied in throughout this show. Some of it is really confusing. Yeah, I talked about this. I talked about being bold that Scott wasn't in this most of the show. I remember getting pissed off in the middle. Just whatever, like what the heck is going on? I want my freaking I want my main character in the show that I'm talking to, right? I mean, this that I'm watching. He's not even in the goddamn show. That was pissing me off. A lot of it is just a little bit too much for me. It's really stylized. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of random stuff. This vegan portals, I mean, like, screw off. I don't, like, what the hell does that even mean? I get it's just rules for this world. But, and again, like I said, it's supposed to be lame. But some of it was just too lame for me in many ways. So then, getting back to what little of there is the plot, there's this whole future thing where Scott's future self faked his death and pulled him into a portal and pulled him into the future to stop him from having a relationship with Ramona because it really messed him up, kind of, even though we learned it really didn't. He's just like a whiny baby or something. But they're in the future and they're dealing with some future stuff, blah, blah. It's cool, I guess, a little complications. Appreciate some of it. This post-apocalyptic world we've talked about is a fun idea to play with, good worlds to jump in, but they don't really talk about most of it. A lot of it is ignored. So, I don't know, mixed feelings about that. And then this is where, because they explain it, they don't get it entirely on the nose, but they get it pretty on the nose, where I realized that this movie was kind of a playing off of the original story of Scott Pilgrim, right? He said what normally would have happened in the screenplay that future Ramona wrote for Scott's friend's little brother, young Neil, and then turned into a movie. Because she wanted to know the actual story, blah, blah. It was just a way to say that the actual story, Scott goes through and fights all the evil exes. And so I understand, I recognize that was what the plot of the actual movie, the actual comic book is. So they're doing this little thing. Again, if you're going to make a remake, be unique, do something different. Gotta respect it there. That was pretty solid. And it was fun how he was trying to fight all the evil exes, but they were all pretty chill and good with him. They didn't hate him anymore. Most of them were boys with him. I like that. He would try to run around and fight them. that was funny. And I also, a little like, ha, get it moment, where evil Scott comes back again, or even older Scott comes back, and he's been training for 10 years because he wants to beat up his younger self and maybe kill him. I don't know, like, maybe kill Ramona. Little ambiguous motivations. But then it goes Scott Pilgrim versus the world. So that's kind of funny because the world versus Scott Pilgrim, whatever one is flip. What is it? Yeah, flipping. So it's the world versus Scott Pilgrim because the original movie is called Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Haha, get it? This is what Scott Pilgrim takes off. I've heard that there's a lot more in the comic books, so maybe they're planning on doing more. I don't know if this is going to be a one-off or not. I guess it depends on the audience reaction, certainly. But again, some of that just creativeness. If you're going to do it, if you're going to remake something, it's a good idea to be new with it. In this big last boss fight, there's some pretty solid action. I like how all of the friends, evil exes, everyone gets to do something. They get their due, get to show off a little bit their powers, what they've learned, what we know about them. Some of them grow up a little bit. That was fun. And then Future Ramona comes back, and they kind of like knock him out and just tell Future Sky he's an idiot. And then there's this weird mind melding thing with the Ramonas, and Ramona chooses herself, but then chooses Scott still. Confused there. I don't know what was really going on. I feel like they were trying to do something, and it didn't work too much for me. So overall, this is pretty quick. But this is like a new headlines one, so maybe this will get some type of traction. At the end of everything, I couldn't tell if this show was really rad. I know it's fun, but really rad or just awful and terrible. I don't know. I mean, the art and the fast-paced nature of this whole show and the nonsense that was going through a lot of it plays it to that. It's either you hate it or you love it. I'm getting a little older, not old yet, a little older. So maybe it's more of a younger, edgy teen thing that vibes more with them. I don't exactly know. Either way, I was pretty confused at the end, so I'm going to put it really, in the middle. I don't know either way. I will say, when Netflix forced me to say if I liked it or not, I think you could have just skipped it, but it asked, do you like it or not? I did say that I liked it. So there's that, my unconscious, quick instinct. I think that says something. Either way, sort of a mixed bag for the most part, but if you like the other ones, you probably like this because it gives a new, hyper stylized, different kind of offshoot of it. If you don't like it, I would say give it a try. To be honest, if you don't like it after a few episodes, it doesn't really get different or better. It's all same through most of it. So if you don't like the first few episodes, you can probably drop it. But there's a lot of good voice actors, so if you just want to stay for that, stay for some of the just pure nonsense, if this is a sit back and watch with your friends while you talk, or sit back while you do something else, that could be a good candidate for this. Yeah, either way, I can get that wraps about my my review here. I know this was kind of just sporadic and random and short, but that's what I got for this. Kind of the motif of the show, to be honest. That's all I got for this one. Done. Signing off.